Rain hammered the tin roof of the Carter family's small wooden house in Ashwood, Oregon. Outside, the world was a blur of grey and green, soaked and swaying under the weight of the storm. Inside, the kitchen smelled faintly of onions and sizzling oil. Olivia Carter stood at the stove, her sleeves rolled up, humming along to the faint jazz playing from a dusty radio near the window. 4-year-old Liam stood barefoot on the cushioned bench beside the kitchen window, his forehead pressed against the fogged glass. His small fingers spread out like a starfish on the pane, eyes wide and unblinking. "Mom," he said, barely above a whisper. "Someone's crying out there." Olivia didn't look up. "It's just the wind, sweetheart. The trees make those sounds when it blows through Pine Hollow." But Liam didn't answer, his head tilted slightly, as if straining to hear past the wind and rain. Then he whispered again, more certain this time. "It's not the wind. It's a dog. He's scared." Olivia finally turned, wiping her hands on a kitchen towel. "Liam, honey, it's pouring out. No one's out there, I promise." She walked over and tried to gently pull him down from the bench. "Come help me set the table. Your dad'll be home soon." But Liam's feet dropped to the floor before she could stop him. He was already moving, determined, his small legs carrying him towards the back door. "Liam, no!" Olivia's voice rose. "I said stay inside." He paused at the threshold of the covered porch, rain slashing just inches from his toes. He raised one small finger to his lips. "Shh," he said. "He's calling me." That gesture, so calm, so certain, made Olivia freeze. Then she heard it. A sound barely there, hidden beneath the wind and rain. A soft, low whimper. Not human. Not imagined. Real. "Stay on the porch," she said sharply, grabbing a jacket off the hook. "Right here, do you hear me? Don't move." But Liam was already stepping into the storm. "Liam!" His little blue socks soaked instantly as he ran across the yard, the grass slick and cold beneath his feet. Olivia sprinted after him, her slippers squelching in the mud. Her heart pounded, not just from fear of losing sight of him, but from the unspoken dread clawing its way up her throat. She caught up to him at the edge of the trees, where the yard dissolved into the dense wall of Pine Hollow. Liam had dropped to his knees beside a thicket of underbrush. At first, Olivia saw nothing. Then movement, a shape. There, tangled in the wet ferns and broken branches, was a large German shepherd. Its coat was matted with mud and blood. Its hind legs dragged uselessly behind it, twisted at unnatural angles. The dog's head lifted weakly at the sound of their footsteps, ears pinned back in pain. A low growl rose in its throat, not threatening, but warning. A ghost of what might have once been fierceness. "Oh my God!" Olivia breathed instinctively, reaching for Liam. "Sweetheart, come back. That dog's hurt. It could be dangerous." But Liam didn't move. His eyes were locked on the animal. "He won't bite," he said quietly. "He's just scared, and hurt real bad." "Liam, we need to call someone. Animal control." "No!" he snapped, with a force that startled her. "They'll put him to sleep. That's what they do to dogs like him." He crawled forward slowly on his hands and knees. The dog watched him, muscles tense, but unmoving. "It's okay," Liam whispered. "I hear you. I know your name." Olivia's breath caught. "Liam, how would you know his name?" "He told me," the boy said simply. "His name is Ranger." And the dog, Ranger, let out a soft, broken whimper, no longer growling. His eyes, deep amber and clouded with pain, locked onto Liam's face and didn't look away. "Liam," Olivia's voice cracked. "I'm gonna help you," the boy whispered to the dog. "But you have to let me touch you, okay?" He reached out one tiny hand. Olivia's heart stopped. Ranger didn't snap, didn't flinch. He lowered his head to the mud and let Liam rest his hand on his soaked, matted fur. A beat passed, then another. "See," Liam said softly. "He knows I'm not here to hurt him. Someone else already did that." A car door slammed in the distance, their old sedan pulling into the driveway. "Wade," Olivia called over her shoulder. "Come here, now." Wade Carter, Liam's father, jogged toward them, frowning at the sight of his wife and son crouched in the woods. "What the hell's going on?" he asked, breathless. "It's a dog," Olivia said, pointing. "He's hurt, badly." Wade moved closer, but not too close. "Is he safe?" "He's dying," Liam said without looking up. "Someone broke his legs because he wouldn't fight. They left him to die out here." Wade froze. "What did you just say?" "Ranger told me," Liam replied. "In my head, his last owner made him fight other dogs. When he stopped fighting, they kicked him and threw him out." Olivia and Wade exchanged a stunned look. "Dogs don't talk, son," Wade said carefully. "You might be imagining it." Liam shook his head, stroking the dog's soaked fur. He showed me pictures. A man with a scar on his hand, a red door, 15 other dogs, locked underground. Wade opened his mouth to respond, but didn't. The dog, Ranger, let out another low whine, barely audible but filled with pain. "We have to help him," Liam said firmly. "He's not just a dog, he's someone." Wade hesitated for one long second, then nodded. "I'll get a blanket from the garage. We can make a stretcher." Olivia blinked. "You believe him?" "I don't know what I believe," Wade muttered, "but I know that dog didn't get those injuries from falling down the stairs." He took off running toward the house. Olivia crouched beside. "Liam," her voice low. "Sweetheart, how did you really know his name?" Liam didn't look at her. "He was called Ranger before the bad men took him. They called him F-23 at the fighting place." "And how do you know all this?" "Because he doesn't want to die," Liam said quietly. "And because I was listening." The rain fell harder, the trees swayed, and deep in the woods something else shifted, like the first pebble falling before a landslide. Something had awakened, something quiet, loyal, and more powerful than anyone in town could have imagined. The old blanket Wade brought from the garage was still damp from a leak in the roof, but it didn't matter. They laid it out gently beside the dog's broken body. Ranger didn't growl this time. He just whimpered, his eyes fluttering shut as if even keeping them open required strength he no longer had. "Careful, especially on the right side," Liam said suddenly. "That's where it hurts the most." Wade paused mid-motion. "How do you know that?" Liam didn't answer. He simply knelt beside the dog and whispered something inaudible into his ear. Ranger gave a soft grunt in reply. Acknowledgement, not pain. It took all three of them, Wade at the shoulders, Olivia at the hips, and Liam steadying Ranger's head, to lift the large shepherd onto the blanket and into the back of the truck. Every move made the dog groan softly, but he never once bared his teeth. The sky was beginning to darken into evening, rain still misting the windshield as Wade drove. Olivia sat in the passenger seat, her phone glowing in her hand, searching for the nearest emergency vet. Liam was in the back, crouched beside Ranger, one hand on the dog's chest, the other brushing his ears gently. "There's a 24-hour clinic on Maple," Olivia said. "No," Liam interrupted. "We need to go to Dr. Sarah's. She's the only one who can help him." Wade glanced at his son in the rearview mirror. "Who's Dr. Sarah?" "She helped his first family. Before the bad people took him. He remembers her." Olivia frowned. "Honey, we don't know this dog. How could you possibly know who treated him?" Liam didn't blink. "Because he told me." Wade's grip tightened on the wheel. "You mean, you're guessing?" "No," Liam said, eyes never leaving Ranger's face. "He showed me. You mean pictures? In your head? Liam nodded slowly. And her name tag. It said Sarah Vance. She used to give him treats when the other vet wasn't looking. Neither parent responded. Not because they believed it, but because neither could explain why it didn't sound made up. Olivia looked up Doctor. Sarah Vance. She's not at a clinic anymore. Says here she works out of a private office now, on Sycamore Road. That's across town, Wade muttered. She's probably not even open. She lives upstairs. Liam said matter-of-factly. Just knock on the side. Door and tell her Ranger's back. Rain started up again as they pulled into the gravel driveway behind the converted brick building. The lights inside were dark, the sign reading "Closed" swinging in the breeze. Olivia hesitated, hand on the door. Let's at least try. Wade said, then added under his breath, worst case, she thinks we're crazy. They knocked. Nothing. Knocked again. A moment passed, then a light clicked on behind a second-story window. Footsteps, and the door opened an inch on the chain. A tired, middle-aged woman with ash-blonde hair and a thick navy cardigan peered out. I'm sorry, we're closed. There's an emergency clinic on... Dr. Vance? Olivia interrupted. We found a dog. He's badly hurt. Our son says his name is Ranger, that he used to belong to the Miller family. The woman froze, then unlatched the door. Did you just say... Ranger? Olivia nodded. Dr. Vance's face drained of color. I treated a dog named Ranger, she said slowly. German Shepherd. Belonged to the Millers. Sweet family. He was stolen last year. No one ever found him. Wade stepped aside so she could see into the back of the truck. Dr. Vance gasped, one hand to her mouth. Oh my God! It really is him! Without waiting for another word, she waved them in. Bring him inside, carefully. We'll use the side ramp. The exam room smelled faintly of antiseptic and lavender. Dr. Vance flicked on the overhead light and cleared the surgical table. Lay him here. I'll get gloves. Wade and Olivia carried Ranger in while Liam walked beside him, murmuring softly. The dog's breathing had grown ragged. As soon as he was on the table, Dr. Vance began a quick but gentle examination. Her eyes were focused, but her voice shook. 2 broken hind legs, 1 possibly compound, severe bruising, rib fractures, internal bleedings likely. Then her fingers found the lump at the base of Ranger's neck. What's this? She muttered, grabbing her scanner. The device beeped once, then stopped. That's not a microchip, she said sharply. Not standard anyway. It's too big, and it's not in the right place. Liam, standing beside the table, said quietly, That's the thing they use to track him. Dr. Vance stared at him. What do you mean? The bad men, Liam replied. The ones who took him. They put that in him. Max, his name's Max, not Ranger. He said if we don't destroy it, they'll find him. Dr. Vance turned to Olivia. Your son, he knew my name. He knew about the Millers. He even knew I used to sneak Max treats from my pocket. Her voice faltered. No one knew that, not even the Millers. It was just our thing. She looked down at Liam. How do you know these things? Liam didn't flinch. He shows me. When I get quiet, I can hear him. Not with ears, with here. He pointed to his chest. Wade sat heavily in the corner chair. Jesus. Dr. Vance stood, staring at the old scanner in her hand. I don't know what this is, but I'm going to remove it while I repair the brakes. I'll disable it before I even touch it. Good, Liam whispered. He's scared. Dr. Vance hesitated. He'll need surgery. Tonight. I can do it, but it'll take hours. I'll help, Liam said immediately. Dr. Vance looked at Wade and Olivia. Maybe he should wait outside. Some of what I'll need to do, he's too young. But Liam placed his small hand on Max's chest. He wants me here. He says he's scared of doctors now, because the last one wasn't really a doctor, just a man who hurt him with needles. Silence filled the room. Dr. Vance blinked rapidly, then nodded. All right, but stay back when I tell you. The prep began. Olivia helped scrub the table. Wade carried in supplies from the back room. Dr. Vance sterilized her tools, her movements precise. And Liam stood by Max's head, his hand never leaving the dog's fur. He says thank you, Liam murmured. He remembers you. You gave him the soft treats with the crunchy outside. Dr. Vance paused mid-step. Her eyes shimmered. They were liver-flavored. He always waited for them. And in that moment, she didn't question it anymore. Because somehow, impossibly, quietly, undeniably, Max was talking. And a little boy was listening. They worked through the night. And in the silence between machines and stitches and whispered words, something unspoken passed between them all. Not just hope, but understanding. And the beginning of something none of them had names for yet. Max had been home for just 4 days, and yet nothing in the Carter household felt normal anymore. The old shepherd lay on a thick bed of blankets in the living room, his back legs immobilized with clean bandages, ivy tubing coiled next to a stand by the couch. Olivia administered antibiotics twice a day. Wade carried him outside to relieve himself. And Liam never left his side. That morning, as sun cracked through the storm clouds and filtered across the hardwood floor, Liam sat cross-legged beside Max with a sketchbook and a red crayon in hand. He was drawing something, carefully, silently, occasionally looking at Max, who gazed back with a steady calm. Wade passed through on his way to the kitchen. "What you working on, bud?" Liam didn't look up. "The place where they kept them." Wade paused. "What do you mean?" Liam turned the sketchbook toward him. A simple, childlike drawing, but unmistakable. A red door, a grey staircase descending beneath it, and behind the door, rows of kennels, crude shapes of dogs. "There were 15, Liam said. "Max says some were sick. One was pregnant. There was barely any light. The man with white hair used to come down at night." Wade stared at the drawing. "Where did you see that?" he asked, too sharply. "I didn't see it," Liam said. "Max," Wade crouched slowly. "Liam, you know that sometimes dreams feel real, right? And memories can mix with things we imagine?" "I know," Liam said, "but this isn't a dream. Max remembers. He said there was a girl dog named Tilly. She kept the others calm. She didn't make it." Olivia stepped in just in time to hear that last part. Her face paled. "Wade, I know." They exchanged a look, then turned back to the boy. "What else does Max say?" Olivia asked softly. Liam ran his fingers along Max's ears. "There's a farm, but it's not a real farm. It's where they took the others. He doesn't know where it is, but he remembers the smell. Rotten corn, diesel, blood." Olivia sat beside him now. "Honey, that's very specific." Liam nodded. "Because it's real." Max lifted his head. It was still hard for him to move, but his eyes were alert now, tracking the sound of footsteps outside. And then a low growl. Wade rose and stepped toward the window. A white pickup truck was parked down the road. Engine off. No driver in sight. "Don't like that," he muttered. Max's growl deepened, lips just barely curled. "I'll check it out," Wade said, already pulling on his jacket. "No!" Liam cried. "Max says don't go out there alone. He says it's the same truck from before, the one they used when they took him." Wade froze. "That's not possible." But even Olivia, ever the skeptic, couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't coincidence. Wade grabbed his phone and took a photo of the truck's plates before the vehicle suddenly roared to life and pulled away down the hill. Liam hugged Max tighter. He said they know he's here now. That night, the family sat in the kitchen with Dr. Sarah Vance, who had come by to check on Max's progress. "His wounds are healing faster than I expected," she said, pulling off her gloves. "But it's his alertness that amazes me. I've never seen a dog bounce back mentally this quickly." "He's not just bouncing back," Olivia said quietly. "He's remembering. And Liam is, somehow he's hearing it." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "You mean emotionally picking up on Max's trauma?" "No," Wade said. "We mean literally hearing things Max experienced." Sarah looked between the two of them, unsure whether to laugh or worry. Liam came into the room then, still holding the sketchbook. "Max wants to show you something." He handed her the drawing of the red door. Sarah blinked. "I know this door," she whispered. "That's the back entrance to the old Wilson feed plant. It's been abandoned for years." Wade leaned forward. "You're sure?" 100%. My uncle used to work maintenance there. That red door led to a storm shelter underneath the plant. No one used it for years. Could someone be using it now? Olivia asked. Sarah hesitated. Technically, yes, but the place is condemned. It's on private land now. Some real estate developer bought it for scrap, but never got around to demolishing it. Wade stood. "Then we need to see what's behind that door." "Not yet," Liam said. "Max says, wait until tomorrow night. That's when they usually come." Sarah stared at the boy. "How do you know that?" "He showed me," Liam said. "Like a movie. Only, it hurts more." Later, after Sarah had left, Wade and Olivia sat in silence. Max lay beside the fireplace, watching them. "Tell me this is just a weird phase," Olivia whispered. "Tell me our son didn't just reveal the location of an illegal dog-fighting ring." Wade shook his head. "Everything's too specific. The red door, the underground kennels, the smell, even the guy with white hair." "What guy with white hair?" "Max told Liam about him," Olivia said. "He wears gloves," Liam added from the hallway. "And he always whistles a song when he walks down the stairs. Max says it's called Turkey in the Straw." Wade's face went slack. "My granddad used to sing that when we were kids." "Coincidence?" Olivia asked. "No," Wade said. "The man with white hair, I think I've seen him before. He used to run a dog show out near Timber Falls, always carried a silver cane. I never liked him." Liam walked over and placed his small hand on Max's chest. "He says we'll see him again soon, and when we do, we have to be ready." Wade looked down at his son, then at the battered dog who hadn't stopped watching the door. For the first time, he believed everything. Max didn't just survive, he remembered. And he was still fighting, for more than just himself. The knock came just after noon, sharp and controlled. 3 precise taps. Olivia peeked through the window and saw a man in a faded brown uniform standing on the porch, rain slicker folded over one arm, clipboard in hand. He smiled as she opened the door. "Afternoon, Mom. Roger Lanning, County Animal Control." His voice was flat, official, almost too rehearsed. Olivia narrowed her eyes. "We didn't call anyone." "Just following up on a report," he said, flipping the clipboard towards her, without showing anything on it. "Someone in the area mentioned a large, injured German shepherd being housed here. Possibly a stray. I'm here to verify his condition and, if necessary, transport him to a holding facility for further evaluation." Behind her, Liam's voice rang out like an alarm bell. "He's lying!" Olivia turned to see Liam standing at the end of the hall, barefoot, his little fists clenched. "Max says he smells like blood. Not the good kind." The man's face twitched for half a second. "Excuse me?" "Max knows you," Liam said coldly. "You're the one who locked the doors." Roger's hand tightened slightly around the clipboard. Olivia stepped in front of her son protectively. I think we're fine. Here, Max is under veterinary care, and he's in no condition to be moved. Roger didn't blink. Mom, I have legal authority to remove the animal. Then show me your badge. For a beat, the man hesitated. Just long enough. Then he let out a soft, insincere chuckle. Of course. He patted his chest, miming a search, but came up empty. Must have left it in the truck. I'll grab it real quick. He turned smoothly and walked down the steps, slipping around the driver's side of a dark SUV parked by the curb. The vehicle's plates were covered in mud. As he got in, he didn't go for any paperwork. The car roared to life and sped off, tires shrieking as it turned sharply onto the main road. Wade came in seconds later, out of breath. What the hell just happened? He tried to take Max, Olivia said, chest heaving. He wasn't animal control. Liam said, voice shaking but clear. Max knew him. That's one of the men who beat him. That night, tension filled the house like a storm cloud. Max lay by the fireplace, ears twitching at every sound outside. Liam hadn't moved from his side. Olivia paced the kitchen, phone in hand. We need to report this to the sheriff. We will, Wade said, his arms crossed. But what are we going to say? A 6-year-old said the dog told him the man was bad? 4, Olivia corrected, voice rising. He's 4 years old, Wade, and he's saying things no child should know. Wade sighed. You don't believe him anymore? I want to, she whispered. God, I want to, but I can't keep pretending that this connection isn't scaring the hell out of me. A man showed up today who clearly knew where we lived. What happens when they come back and we're not home, or when they decide to stop pretending to be officials? Wade was silent. I think we need to get Max out of here, Olivia said finally. Somewhere safe, maybe a rehab center, or Dr. Vance's clinic, just for a few days. No! Liam's scream came from the hallway. They turned. He stood there with tears in his eyes, holding Max's collar. You can't take him. He's not done. Olivia crouched. Honey, I know you love him, but there are bad people looking for him. And Max is trying to stop them. Liam said, He's scared too, but he's brave. He remembers everything so we can help the others. Wade moved to speak, but Liam kept going, his voice trembling. You always say we have to protect what's right. Max is right. He didn't ask for this. He didn't want to be hurt. And now that he's trying to help, you're going to send him away? Olivia's lip quivered. Wade looked down at Max, who had dragged himself into the room. The dog's front paws were raw from friction, his breathing shallow, but he positioned himself between Liam and the door. Protective, present, real. He won't survive another separation, Wade said softly. Olivia looked between the two of them, her son and this battered creature, and something inside her cracked. The fear, the logic, the maternal instinct, it all blurred together into a knot of guilt and love. I just don't want anything to happen to you, she whispered, brushing Liam's hair back. Then don't take away the only one who can stop it, he said. Max reached out with his paw and pressed it gently against Olivia's foot. It wasn't a plea. It was trust. Later that night, Wade sat on the porch with a baseball bat in his lap. A shotgun leaned against the wall beside him. Inside, Olivia sat beside Max, carefully checking his bandages. Liam had fallen asleep against his side, a small hand curled in the dog's fur. I'm sorry, she whispered to Max. I panicked. I didn't know what else to do. Max didn't move, but his eyes found hers and held her gaze. And in that look, Olivia didn't see an animal. She saw a soldier, bruised, wounded, but unbroken. She saw a partner, one that had survived the worst men could offer and still had something left to give. And finally she saw something deeper. Faith. Faith in a 4-year-old boy. faith in a second chance, faith that maybe, just maybe, someone would finally listen. She blinked back tears, rested her hand on his head and whispered, "We're not sending you anywhere, Max. You're home now." Liam jolted upright in the middle of the night, sweat beading on his forehead despite the chill. Max was already awake, sitting stiff and alert beside him, his breathing heavy and measured. "They're crying again," Liam whispered, "and Max showed me where." Wade rubbed his eyes from the hallway. "What is it this time, buddy?" "The red door. It's not just a dream. Max remembers the door, the cages, the sounds. He said they're still there, 15 of them." Wade knelt down and placed a hand on Max's back. The dog flinched slightly but didn't pull away. "Are you saying you saw something? Again?" Liam nodded. "There's a barn with metal tubes in the ground, like chimneys. That's where they keep them, hidden. Max showed me." Olivia, now fully awake, stood in the doorway. Her face was pale. "I remember seeing something like that when we drove past old Kellerman's farm last summer," she said. "There were these weird vents coming out of the ground near a collapsed silo. I thought it was just drainage." "No," Liam said quietly. "That's where the bad men go." Max let out a low growl. The next morning, under the pretense of a weekend drive, Wade took the family truck and headed towards the edge of Ashwood, past the forgotten stretches of farmland that had fallen into disrepair after the mill shut down. Max lay curled in the back, head resting on Liam's lap. Though still weak, he seemed energized by something unspoken, a mission, a memory, or both. As they approached Kellerman's property, the dog lifted his head. His nose twitched, his eyes narrowed. A short, sharp grunt escaped his throat. "Here?" Wade asked. Max thumped his tail once against the seat. The farmhouse looked abandoned, its roof caved in and windows boarded up. But the barn out back, though aged, was intact. And beside it, just as Olivia recalled, sat 3 rusty pipes poking from the earth like forgotten sentinels. Wade killed the engine and scanned the property. No animals, no signs of life. But Max growled again. "I think we need to check it out," Olivia said, her voice shaking. "Just a look," Wade replied. In and out. He left Liam in the car with Max, instructing him to lock the doors and stay quiet no matter what. But the moment they stepped onto the property, Max whined sharply and pawed at the door. "I'm going with you," Liam said from the open window. "No, you're not. Max needs me to be his voice." Wade hesitated. Then, cursing under his breath, he opened the door. The barn reeked of mildew and something fouler, something metallic and wrong. Olivia gagged as they stepped inside. The sunlight barely reached the floorboards, filtered through cracks and knotholes. Max moved with urgency, his weakened frame pulling him forward as if his body remembered what his mind hadn't. He paused by a mound of old straw, nose pressed to a knot in the wooden floor. Liam knelt beside him. "The trapdoor is here." Sure enough, beneath the straw and rot, Wade found a rusted metal handle flush with the boards. It took everything in him not to tremble as he pulled it open. The smell doubled. A dark corridor led downward, narrow, dirt-lined, lit only by a faint glow from what appeared to be a string of flickering bulbs. "Someone's been down here recently," Wade whispered. They crept down slowly, Max trailing behind, every step cautious. Then they heard it. Whimpers. Soft, rhythmic, from below. They reached the bottom and turned the corner. 15 cages, some empty, others with dogs, barely breathing, bones pressing through skin, eyes hollow and afraid. Olivia gasped. "Dear God." One of the cages had blood on the bars, another held only a collar. Liam knelt near the first occupied kennel. Hey, it's okay. Max sent us." The dog inside whimpered again but didn't move. Then Max barked, short and sharp, a command. 3 of the dogs responded, ears up, hope flickering. That was when the door upstairs slammed shut. Voices. "Someone's in the barn! Go! Go now!" Wade grabbed Liam. "We have to run, now!" They turned back through the tunnel, but Max didn't move. He stayed by the cages, snarling, placing himself between the door and the other dogs. "Max!" Liam cried, but the dog stood firm. Wade reached the top of the stairs, opened the trap door, and motioned them through. Olivia shoved Liam up first, then scrambled after him. Wade waited, heart pounding, before Max finally lunged out from the dark and into the barn, battered but unbroken. Gunshots rang out, wild, distant. Someone had fired at the wind, but they were coming. They didn't stop running until they reached the truck. Wade peeled out of the driveway and didn't slow until they were 5 miles down the road. That night, after the house was locked, shades drawn, and Liam safely asleep beside Max, Wade and Olivia sat in the kitchen with trembling hands and a USB drive on the table. Wade had managed to grab it from a dusty office near the underground cages, likely surveillance footage. "I think it's time we call Ramirez," he said. Detective Ana Ramirez had been on the original missing animal case tied to Max. She'd hit roadblocks, been told to drop it by her superiors, and eventually reassigned. But Wade had saved her number. Olivia dialed. "Detective Ramirez." The voice answered. "This is Olivia Carter. You probably don't remember me, but I think we have something you need to see. It's about Max, and what's still happening in Ashwood." There was a long pause. Then, "Where are you?" Olivia looked at Max, sleeping in peace for the first time since they found him. "Home," she said, "but I don't think that'll last long." From beneath the table, Max stirred, ears twitching again, as if he already knew. This wasn't over. Not yet. Detective Ana Ramirez arrived at the Carter home just before dawn, a weathered denim jacket slung over her shoulder, her dark hair pulled into a tight braid. Her eyes scanned the house quickly, not with suspicion, but the sharp instinct of someone who had learned to expect danger hiding in the quietest corners. Max met her at the door, standing tall despite the bandage still wrapped around his ribs. He didn't bark, he simply stared at her, unblinking, almost assessing. "I heard this guy was dead," Ramirez murmured. "He's got a lot left in him," Wade replied, motioning her inside. They gathered around the kitchen table, Olivia, Wade, Ramirez, and Liam, who sat with his legs curled beneath him, Max's head resting on his lap like a weighted stone. Liam looked up at the detective. "He remembers everything." Ramirez studied the boy. She didn't laugh. She didn't question. "Then let's listen." Ramirez inserted the USB drive into her laptop, and the screen flickered to life with grainy footage from inside the barn. Cameras had been mounted in the ceiling, hidden but functional. The videos were time-stamped, some as recent as last week. Dogfights, bets being exchanged, a man in a grey suit collecting cash. "They weren't just fighting dogs," Ramirez said, her voice low. "They were trafficking them, breeding them for violence, selling them off." She paused the video on a frame showing a tall man in a blazer, his face turned towards the camera just enough to recognize. "I know that man," she muttered. "Jasper Dane. He's a vice president for Monarch Enterprises." "Monarch?" Wade asked. "Corporate, shell, real estate, lobbying, biotech. But there have always been whispers about animal testing, bribed inspectors, private security with no oversight. Every time someone gets close, the evidence disappears." "Until Max," Olivia said. Ramirez nodded. "Until Max." Over the next few days, Ramirez returned to Ashwood under the pretense of visiting her sister. In secret, she worked with Wade and Olivia to organize the footage, map out the location's underground layout, and identify repeat figures caught on tape. Max was involved in every step. If a voice played in the background, Max would perk up, growl or whine, his reactions aligning almost perfectly with the severity of what was being said. He reacted with particular aggression to one man with a limp and a thick southern drawl. Liam tapped the screen. "That one. He's the one who beat Max. He locked him in the fire cage." "Fire cage?" Ramirez asked. Liam's eyes welled with tears, but he stayed steady. "That's what Max called it. The metal box they set on fire outside the barn." Ramirez turned pale. "That's not just abuse. That's torture. And it's punishable." Max let out a low chuff, as if in agreement. Through Ramirez's encrypted access to police databases, she began cross-referencing the men in the footage with known associates of Monarch. One name kept recurring: Elijah Crane. A former Marine turned private enforcer. No official job title, no criminal record. But his face, caught repeatedly in the footage, matched one from an old file marked "Closed, insufficient evidence." Crane was the last person seen with Max before he vanished last year. Ramirez said, rubbing her temple. He claimed Max slipped his leash during transport. There was a full search. Nothing. Max was presumed dead. Olivia stared at Max, who lay curled beside Liam again. But he didn't die. He escaped. Or someone helped him. Ramirez added. "What if Max wasn't just a victim?" Wade asked. "What if he's the key witness?" Ramirez cracked a tired smile. "Then he's the only one we've ever had with 4 legs and a memory for murder." That night, as they worked late into the evening, Ramirez laid out her plan. "We can't go through official channels. If Monarch gets wind of this, they'll shut it all down. They've got judges, lobbyists, hell, even a few cops. I've seen what they bury. But if we leak this footage the right way, to the right people, people outside the system, they won't be able to hide." She pulled a flash drive from her jacket. "This has enough to start a storm, but I need something stronger, a name, a date, a location they're using now." Liam leaned into Max. After a moment of silence, the boy whispered, "Thursday." "They're moving dogs again." Max heard them planning. Midnight. Outside Ashridge, Ramirez looked at Wade. "Ashridge is 40 miles out. There's an old rail yard there. No. Patrols. No cameras. They're using it like a ghost stop." Wade said. "No one would notice." Ramirez stood. "Then that's where we'll go." The next morning, as the Carter family prepared to drive Liam to school, Max blocked the doorway. "What's wrong?" Olivia asked. Liam crouched. "He doesn't want me to leave." Olivia glanced out the window. A black SUV was parked across the street. No logos, no plates. Ramirez, still in the kitchen, pulled her badge. "Stay inside, they found you." Wade swore. Max let out a low, guttural bark, almost a warning. Ramirez turned to Olivia. "We're running out of time." "Then let's finish this," Olivia said. Outside, the SUV pulled away slowly, but not before a man in the passenger seat lowered his sunglasses and locked eyes with the window. Liam whispered, "He's the one from Max's dream." Max growled again, low and long. Whatever was coming next, they would face it together. And this time, Max wasn't just surviving. He was leading. It started with a shadow moving past Liam's bedroom window. Then came the sound of tires rolling over gravel, a soft thud near the front door. Olivia's heart skipped. Wade was already at the window, pulling back the curtain. What he saw wasn't headlights or a neighbor's truck. It was a dark SUV with no plates, parked silently just out of reach of the porch light. Then came the sharp, urgent bark. Max was already downstairs, growling low, tail stiff, every muscle tense like a spring about to snap. "They found us," Ramirez said quietly, reaching for her sidearm. Liam stood barefoot in the hallway, eyes wide. "They're here for Max." Wade grabbed his keys. "We need to go, now." Olivia didn't ask questions. She grabbed Liam's coat and the emergency backpack they had packed 2 days earlier. Ramirez sent a coded message through her secure police line, then helped Wade lift Max into the truck bed, padding it with blankets. The German shepherd didn't protest. He just looked back toward the house, eyes locked on Liam, as if already predicting the road ahead. They headed for the only place they could trust: Doctor. Sarah Whitmore's cabin in the forested outskirts of Ashwood. The cabin sat deep in the pines, 20 miles out, hidden from the main road by a winding dirt path and the kind of natural silence that made every leaf crunch sound like a warning. It was the place Sarah used for wildlife rehab. Far off grid, no cameras, no power lines, no connections. Sarah met them at the door, already in a flannel robe and boots, her eyes sharp and questioning. "We didn't call," Olivia said. "Did you know?" Sarah nodded, motioning them in. Max did. That night, as Liam curled up beside Max near the fireplace, strange things began to happen. First, a faint howl echoed in the distance. Then another, and another. Max lifted his head, ears alert. Sarah stepped out onto the porch, flashlight in hand. "What?" She stole the words from her mouth. Dogs. 6, maybe more, emerging from the woods. A one-eyed border collie. An old bloodhound with a limp. A mutt that looked more wolf than retriever. Some wore collars, some didn't. All of them moved with the same unspoken urgency, as if summoned by something ancient and undeniable. "They're responding to him," Sarah whispered. Inside, Liam sat up. "Max called them. He asked for help." The next day, Ramirez arrived with a duffel full of gear and a map spread across Sarah's dining table. "If what Liam heard is right, they're moving the dogs again tonight. Same place, Red Door Farm." She tapped the map. "They use a lower tunnel entrance off the east wall. Unmarked, hidden behind hay bales. I couldn't get a warrant, too little time. But if I show up with proof of illegal transport and violence in progress, that's different. What are you planning?" Wade asked. Ramirez looked at Max. "I'm not planning. He is." At dusk, Max stood at the head of the clearing. The dogs surrounded him in a semicircle. It wasn't just their presence, it was their posture. They looked at him the way soldiers might look at a seasoned general, quietly, intently, ready. Even Sarah, who had worked with animals for over 2 decades, had never seen anything like it. He's not just leading them, he's communicating. Liam knelt beside Max and whispered something only they could hear. Max turned and began walking toward the woods. The dogs followed. Under cover of night, the Carter family, Ramirez, and a convoy of barking allies moved through the trees. They kept off the main road, using deer trails and dry creek beds. Wade held the thermal camera. Ramirez had a GoPro on her vest. When they reached the outskirts of the farm, the smell hit them first. Sweat, blood, fear. And then the sounds. Muffled whimpers from underground. Max stopped. He looked to Liam. Then back to the barn. Liam pointed. "He says the hatch is under the wheelbarrow." Ramirez didn't question it. She moved fast. They uncovered the trapdoor, rusted but still locked with a chain. "Time!" Ramirez asked, pressing her earpiece. 10 minutes. Came the response from her off-duty backup parked 3 miles out. They didn't have 10 minutes. Max growled once, deep and short. Then the dogs moved. While Max led Ramirez and Sarah toward the entrance, the others split. 2 circled the rear, another distracted the guard by the truck. It was chaos, but not random. It was orchestrated. By a dog. They breached the lower hatch. Inside, rows of cages lined the walls. Paws clawed at metal, eyes wide with silent cries for help. Some were still puppies. Others bore scars deeper than fur could hide. Max stopped at one cage. A small, skeletal German shepherd lay inside, unmoving. Liam gasped. "That's her. That's his sister." Ramirez broke the lock. Max nudged the dog's ear gently, then let out a low, vibrating whine. The pup stirred, and for the first time in what looked like months, her tail twitched. Outside, headlights blazed. The enemy had returned. Elijah Crane stepped out of the SUV, his boots crunching over gravel. He looked around, then froze. Dozens of dogs stared back at him from the shadows. Max stood at the center. The light hit his eyes just right. One golden, one clouded with old pain, but both burning with something primal. Elijah reached for his gun. Before he could lift it, a shadow leapt from behind. Not Max. A mutt the size of a coyote tackled him from the side, followed by two others. In seconds, he was pinned. Ramirez moved in, cuffs ready. "I'd say you're under arrest, Elijah, but frankly, I'm just glad they got to you first." Max stood over him, chest heaving. He didn't growl. He didn't bark. He just watched. Silently, powerfully. And with that, the war Max had been fighting alone finally turned into a revolution. One led not by humans, but by the loyalty of something far older. The bond between dog and justice. The tunnel beneath the Red Door farmhouse smelled of rot, iron, and despair. The further they moved down the narrow corridor, the more the air thickened with something feral, something wrong. Ramirez led with her flashlight raised, while Max limped beside her, his body still battered from the night before, but his gaze sharper than ever. Liam walked closely behind, clutching his father's hand. Olivia hovered protectively beside them. Sarah brought up the rear, her hand tight on the tranquilizer kit, just in case. The hallway opened into a massive concrete chamber, cold grey, lit by exposed bulbs swinging from the ceiling. Steel cages lined the walls, crammed together like crates in a forgotten warehouse. Inside them, dozens of dogs whimpered, some barely able to lift their heads, others pacing frantically, their paws raw and blooded. Ramirez froze. "God!" Liam's voice cracked through the stillness. "Max says they've been here for months, some even longer." Max growled low, almost vibrating with rage. He moved ahead, pressing his nose against a particular cage. A brindle pit bull inside wagged its tail once, weakly, then lay back down. Then the click of leather shoes echoed down the hallway behind them. They turned. A tall, silver-haired man in a fitted coat stepped into the light. No security. No goons. Just confidence. He looked like someone used to owning rooms with nothing more than a glance. "Detective Ramirez," he said, smiling coldly. "We meet at last. I assume you've met my inventory." Ramirez stiffened. "Monarch." He gave a mock bow. "Elijah Crane, if you prefer. But around here, Monarch fits better. Simpler for the contracts." Max snarled. Crane tilted his head, eyeing the dog with a twinge of amusement. "You're quite the persistent one, aren't you?" he said. "They told me you were dead." Max limped forward. Slowly. Deliberately. "Don't," Wade warned, stepping protectively in front of Liam. Crane's eyes narrowed, calculating. "You're trespassing on private property? I could make a call, and you'd all be—" A howl pierced the chamber. Then another. Then 20. From the hallway and the forest entrance, the dogs came. Not just the ones from Sarah's cabin. These were survivors. Rescued dogs from neighboring towns, former fighters, forgotten pets, all responding to Max's silent summons. Crane backed up one step. Max surged forward with everything left in him. His muscles strained, blood seeped from reopened wounds, but he didn't slow. He lunged, not for the throat, but the weapon Crane was trying to draw. It clattered across the floor. Then chaos. The dogs didn't maul. They didn't frenzy. They moved with coordinated force, cutting off escape routes, pushing Crane's men toward the walls. One pinned a guard's arm with just enough pressure to disable. Another dragged a key ring to Ramirez. In the middle of it all, Max wrestled with Crane, teeth bared, jaws clamped tight on the man's wrist. Crane fought wildly, landing a blow to Max's ribs, sending him skidding. Max coughed, struggled to stand. Liam screamed, "Max!" Crane raised a knife, small, sharp, pulled from his boot. Max didn't hesitate. He launched again. It was messy. It was desperate, but it was enough. Max sank his teeth into Crane's shoulder and held, no matter how the man twisted or kicked. He held until Ramirez tackled Crane from behind, locking him in cuffs while blood bloomed on his tailored coat. "You're done," she growled into his ear. "You're done hiding behind fake names and dirty money." As the rest of the handlers were rounded up, Sarah opened every cage, releasing the dogs into the wide-open field outside. Some ran free into the woods, others stayed, licking the faces of the people who'd set them free. Max limped toward Liam. The boy dropped to his knees and wrapped his arms around the dog's neck, whispering words no one else heard, words that brought tears to Olivia's eyes. "Is he okay?" she asked softly. Sarah knelt beside Max, checking his pulse, his ribs. "He's more than okay," she said. "He's alive, barely, but alive." Liam looked up at her. He said we were right to come, that he had to finish what they started. Behind them, the red door swung open with the breeze, and in that soft morning light, the shadows of the cage no longer loomed. Justice had teeth, and it had just bitten back. The weeks that followed the raid were a blur of press conferences, depositions, and vet clinics at full capacity. Monarch Enterprises collapsed under the weight of federal charges and public outrage. But for the Carter family and the dogs they had saved, it was never about headlines. It was about what came after. They called it Red Door Rescue. Not a shelter, not a kennel, a place of healing, built on a plot of donated land just outside Ashwood. The center grew from an idea into a movement. Ramirez pulled strings for funding. Sarah ran the medical wing. Olivia quit her night shifts to oversee intake. Wade constructed everything with his own hands, down to the last fence post. And Liam, only 4 years old, was somehow the soul of the place. He still couldn't explain how he heard them. Not in words, anyway. But when a traumatized shepherd arrived, shaking and snarling, Liam would sit near the cage, cross-legged, murmuring nonsense songs. Within hours, the dog would inch closer. Within days, it would rest its head on his knee. They talk to him, Sarah once told a reporter. Not the way we do, but they do. Max, though, was different. He bore the most scars, inside and out, but carried himself like a general in peacetime. The day they took off his final bandage, he didn't limp away to rest. He made a slow walk around the entire compound, sniffing every corner, inspecting every pen. When he reached the section reserved for new arrivals, he stopped in front of a quivering husky mix and did something that stopped Sarah in her tracks. He sat, not to dominate, to level, an invitation. The husky crept out. Max didn't flinch. Within a minute their heads touched. Max had become the center's quiet ambassador. The broken listened to the once broken. And Max, perhaps sensing the weight he carried, wore it with the dignity of a soldier who had chosen peace. One day, Ramirez brought by a new arrival, a bloodied pit bull with a broken chain still around his neck. Raided from a backyard ring in Marion County, she explained. Didn't even have a name. Max walked up, stared, and nudged the dog's snout gently. Liam, peering through the fence, whispered, "His name is Jasper." Ramirez blinked. "That's the name we had on the informant file. No one said it out loud." Max looked back at her, then lay down in the shade beside Jasper's crate. Later that week, Liam sat by the fireplace drawing. Olivia peeked over his shoulder and saw a sketch, Max in the center, surrounded by dogs of every shape, some with bandages, others with scars, all looking outward. "What's this?" she asked. He shrugged. "It's what Max says it feels like now. Safe." Outside, the wind rustled the tall pines. Sunlight danced through the leaves, scattering gold over the gravel walkways and the wagging tails of a dozen dogs chasing shadows. The red door from the old farm had been repainted and placed at the entrance to the center, not as a symbol of what had happened, but of what could be. Every visitor passed through it. Some limped, some barked, some cried. All of them healed, eventually. Because healing wasn't fast. But here it was possible, and Max, once lost and broken, had become something more than rescued. He had become a rescuer. 1 year later, the field outside Red Door Rescue buzzed with quiet joy. Adoptive families gathered. Beneath string lights and an open sky, children laughing as rescued dogs romped in the grass. Each dog wore a small tag with the center's crest, a red door, open. Max stood still, regal, beside Liam at the front. His coat had grown thick again, his eyes sharp and kind. Around his neck, a bronze tag read, "Rescue Dog, Honorary Ambassador." Liam, now 5.5, held the leash but didn't grip it like before. He didn't need to. They were partners now. Olivia nudged her son gently, but he was already walking towards the mic. The chatter faded. People looked up, waiting. Liam didn't clear his throat. He just leaned slightly toward Max, as if listening. Then he looked at the crowd. Max says, "It's your turn now." A pause, a few confused glances. "To listen," he added, "to protect, to remember what they've been through, and to never let it happen again." He looked at the rows of families. Some cried, some nodded. All were still. Then Liam whispered one last thing into the mic, quiet but certain. "What's your story with a loyal pet?" As the silence hung, Max stepped forward, sat tall, and let out a single, deep bark. It was not a cry. It was a call. And for many in that crowd, it would be the beginning of their own story. If Max's journey moved you, help us write the next chapter. Support the German Shepherd Rescue Channel to honor the brave, heal the broken, and amplify the voice of those who can't speak for themselves. Subscribe, share, rescue, because loyalty like Max's should never be forgotten.